Let's go into setting up our meals. So when you eat, you want to prioritize protein. I recommend 30 to 50 grams of protein in a meal, or sometimes more, in some cases less. If you're the average individual, about 150 pounds, you want at least 30 grams of protein in your meal. If you're very lean, maybe 120 pounds or less, you probably can get away with 25 grams or so. And the reason why I use that number is when we eat a meal, we want to hit our leucine threshold. Leucine is a branched chain amino acid, and it's the key branched chain amino acid that stimulates muscle protein synthesis. And so the more muscle we have and the healthier our muscle tissue. Muscle itself acts as a reservoir for pulling glucose out of the bloodstream and improving insulin sensitivity. And of course, it gives us strength, endurance, makes us look better, feel better. So we want to support our muscle tissue. Protein is the macronutrient that supports our muscle tissue the best. And so we want to hit our leucine threshold. Most proteins, they have about 10% leucine. If you're looking at like collagen protein, it's going to be a lot less. It has very little leucine. But outside of that, most of the plant proteins, all the animal proteins other than bone broth collagen are about 10% leucine. And so roughly if you hit the leucine threshold, depending on the average individual, 150 pounds, it's going to be about 3 grams. And so 30 grams of protein, you hit that leucine threshold. Also, that protein really provides satiety. So you feel satiated, and that will help you obviously go longer periods of time without needing to eat. And protein actually will help with fat burning processes in the body. It's metabolically, it helps increase our overall metabolism. So 30 to 50 grams, perhaps more if you do a lot of strength training, you're an athlete, perhaps a little bit less if you're really, really lean, but somewhere in that zone should be good for most people. And then you want to pair that with healthy fats. And, I already talked about where you're going to get your healthy fats. A lot of times they're in your protein sources. So if you're doing steak, you're also getting a lot of healthy fats if you're doing grass-fed steak. So, but in some cases like chicken breast, you need to add more fat to it, like extra virgin olive oil or have some avocado with it or something like that. But with fats, we want somewhere between 15 to 30 grams of healthy fat in a meal. Some people like myself, I can do high amounts of fat and feel great. I can do a meal, lots of protein, lots of fat, and I feel fantastic when I do it. But other people, because they typically have very sluggish bile flow and congested bile ducts, in some cases they don't have a gallbladder, they feel nauseous when they do, more than 20, 25 grams of healthy fats. What I found is that I've never found somebody that couldn't handle at least 15 grams, right? About 15 grams of healthy fat in a meal. Typically, most people are going to be fine. So you kind of want to find what your fat threshold is, how much fat you can handle with, and feel good, right? And that will help you feel satiated. The healthy fats provides fat-soluble nutrients into your system. They help you absorb more nutrients out of the food you're consuming, and they provide satiety, and they help stimulate fat burning. And then once you get those macros right, then fill your plate with colorful fruits and vegetables. So depending on what you're eating, you might want berries, or you might want, green leafy vegetables, bell peppers, tomatoes, try to get a lot of colors and, lots of plant-based food to just kind of fill out the rest of your plate and your meal. And that's basically what you want to do. And if you do that, you're going to have good blood sugar stability. And that's going to help you go longer periods of time without food, without feeling cravings, have better metabolic flexibility. You see, right after a meal, your blood sugar naturally is going to go up. Even if you eat a lower carb meal, it's naturally going to go up, and your body should be burning that as fuel or storing it in your, muscle tissues or your liver as glycogen. And then once it gets to kind of a certain zone and insulin comes down below a certain threshold, then your body should go into fat burning mode. And if it's good, if it's metabolically flexible, it's an easy switch. And when you go into fat burning, now that those fatty acids provide a great fuel source for all the cells of your body other than the brain. For the brain, we need glucose, and we also need a smaller chain. See, fatty acids are too big to get into the blood-brain barrier. So the liver takes fatty acids, converts them into a small chain water-soluble molecule called a ketone, beta-hydroxybutyrate, and that will cross the blood-brain barrier and get up into the brain and provide a fuel source for your brain. And when this happens, you actually feel really good. You feel energetic. When beta hydroxybutyrate gets up into the blood-brain barrier at a certain level, it hits a threshold, and then that signals to the brain to shut down inflammation in the brain. So it actually stops inflammatory cycles. And a lot of people are dealing with irritability, anxiety, depression, wide range of different issues that are a result of brain inflammation. And what happens is when the brain's inflamed, it's kind of this never ending, like this vicious amplifying cycle called the inflammasome. Like the inflammasome is triggered. And so when ketones are elevated in the brain, because we're burning fat for fuel, we're taking longer periods of time between meals, we're practicing intermittent fasting, one of the best ways to do this. Now we shut down brain inflammation, right? Or we significantly reduce it. And then that also helps balance what we call our glutamate to GABA ratio. So glutamate is the gas pedal in the brain. So it's telling us, it's helping us think sharply and quickly, have great memory recall. We love glutamate, but it needs to be balanced with the brakes. We need GABA to help calm it. Otherwise, we get overexcited, we get irritable, we get anxious. And when we have brain inflammation, we end up with high glutamate, low GABA. And what does that result in? Irritability, impulsiveness, anxiety. It also results in brain cells becoming hyperactive and creating something called neuroexcitotoxicity, where they're so close to threshold that they're firing out and they end up dying and spewing out contents into other neurons, and almost like a domino effect, causing all these different neurons to die off. And that can result in depression, sluggish thinking, brain fog, right? And ultimately down the road to neurodegenerative conditions, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, issues like that. So, blood sugar is intimately related. Your good blood sugar balance intimately related to your brain health, as well as, your ability to burn fat for fuel. If you follow these kind of principles right here, you can set yourself up to not only have a really good, lean, healthy physique, lots of energy, but also great brain function throughout the course of your life.